Hey guys, I hate to do this to you again, but I'm sick again. If you if you saw me on Friday, you would know this makes sense. Okay. I should have taken off Friday, but I thought I was getting better. I was not. Side note, I did go see Newsies on Saturday, and that was really good. So if you were in Newsies, great job. I probably talked to you, or if I didn't, I apologize. But um, Newsies was very good, and I thought I was getting better that day. I was like, God, I can't wait for Monday. I'm gonna it's be my Monday back. I'm gonna not be sick, and I am sick. So I'm really, really sorry, but I'm gonna go over everything that you need to know about the 2008 recession. Um, as you can see, well, you can't really see because of my background, but if you can see in the little corner that I'm at my parents' house. It was dog sitting all weekend. And so there's some incriminating family photos of me in the background before braces. Some pretty incriminating stuff. But we're not going to look at that. We're going to talk about the 2008 recession. Actually, you know what? Those were probably taken in 2008. Those were probably taken around 2008. So honestly, pretty on brand for us today. Okay. I don't know why this says this. This is how off I am. Your part two of your movie project is due on Friday. Okay. My goodness. Um, And so today we're going to talk about the 2008 recession. I'll go over part two of your movie project again for people that don't remember. Um, I'll go over your study guide that you should have grabbed on Friday. Remember, oh, it says the answer key, but like it's the Great Depression guided notes. I should have extra copies. Make sure you grab that. We are talking about the 2008 recession. Um, so you should be on that page. So the unemployment rate for the oh my God. The unemployment rate for the 2008 recession, or the unemployment rate for the Great Depression, was 25%. Okay. And so that is on the first page of your guided notes. Okay. So write 25%. That was for the Great Depression. We're going to be comparing the Great Depression that we talked about on Friday to the 2008 recession. And so the unemployment rate for the 2008 recession was 10%. And you can write that down on your front page of your guided notes, 10%. But just a fun fact, it goes down to 4.7% during the Obama administration. And he kind of gets a short end of the stick in the sense that he becomes president right when the 2008 recession is like starting. So it's kind of like he has to deal with that dumpster fire right off the bat. Before we get into the story of the 2008 recession, I want to go over some vocabulary words. Some of these words you may know, some of them you may not know. I am actually pretty familiar with these things, even though I'm not there now, but I just bought a house. And so a lot of this stuff has to go with buying a house. So I'm actually more well versed in this than I was last year or even the year before. So starting off with loan, a loan is lending money to someone with the intention that you'll pay that person back, right? And if you're looking for where to write that, it is on the 2008 recession terms. This is number 8, define the following terms, and loan is right at the top. Most of them are in order, not all of them are in order, but a majority of them are. So that is loan. And feel free to stop and start the video if you need to write stuff down. Though if you're asking the sub to stop and start the video, don't yell at them. Okay, just be polite about it. Mortgage is a loan on a house. Okay, so loan is an overall term. A mortgage is specifically a loan on a house, right? So unfortunately, as I know, houses are very expensive right now, at least in the year 2024 that I'm recording this, if I use this for future years. And so you would need to take out a mortgage to pay for that house over a series of years. unless for some reason you are able to pay, like we talked about on Friday, in cash, or in full at the time. Most people don't get to do that or don't have to do that, but majority of people will have to take out a mortgage, which is, like I said, a loan paid over a series of years. And so you'll put usually a price, like a certain amount of money down to prove that you can pay for that, that house, right? And that's like a down payment, and then you will pay your, mortgage, whatever you decide of the payment or whatever the bank tells you of the payment plan over a series of months. A default is when you stop paying payments, and usually this is not of choice, this is of just circumstances. And it usually leads to your house being repossessed by the bank, right? If you are defaulting on your payments, that means you're not able to keep up with the payments. That means you're not able to afford the payments. And so the bank's going to take your house, and you are no longer going to own it. Mortgage-backed securities is an investor buying multiple mortgages, so multiple mortgage packages, right? Payment packages, in a package deal in order to collect the interest, right? With every mortgage, there is interest, right, that people can collect, right, that are in charge of the mortgages. So a mortgage-backed security would be the investor trying to collect that deal on interest. And so you have to think of like multiple mortgages like this as like a Coca-Cola like package, right? Like one mortgage would be one Coca-Cola can, and then multiple mortgages or like a mortgage-backed security would be just like a pack, like a 12 pack of Coca-Cola. Insurance is so important. This is something that my dad tells me all the time, is that we need to have insurance. My mom tells me that too, right? Is we need insurance, and you need to have insurance to protect in case something goes wrong. So insurance is protection against a possible loss, right? It could be car insurance, could something happen with your car, right? You could have insurance, and they would pay for a majority of the damages, ideally, right? House insurance, meaning something happens to your house, they would pay for majority of the damages, right? And so it's important to have insurance. Credit default swaps get a little bit, excuse me, more complicated now. Credit default swaps is basically insurance for mortgages just in case of a default, of a person not being able to pay or keep up with the payments. And so investors that invest in these mortgages that get the interest, right, like we talked about previously here, sorry, I'm distracted. My mom's in the other room talking to my sister on the phone, and I can hear every word, and it's kind of distracting me. Okay, sorry. It's kind of like when you guys talk while I'm talking. It's just distracting to me. Okay. With insurance for mortgages, right? The investors that are wanting to collect that interest can actually get money back in case something were to go wrong, right? So insurance for them to collect their money back. Predatory lending. I don't know if you can hear that. They're so loud. Predatory lending is telling people something is low interest when the fine print says it's high. So when people are wanting to enter into a mortgage, right, with a bank, right, and they're looking at the interest that they would have to pay over a series of months or over time, right? Predatory lending would be telling those people that, hey, this mortgage has a low interest rate. You should totally, come to us and deal with us, when that itself is a lie, right? When the fine print actually says it's a pretty high interest rate, and that person that's wanting to take a mortgage out would have to pay a pretty high interest rate than what they were initially thinking, right? Or initially being told. A subprime mortgage is bad mortgages disguised as a good mortgage. So similar to what we just talked about this, right? It has to do with predatory lending, disguising something that is really, really bad, but making it look really, really good. And so it's like if you had Coca-Cola, right? And it looked like normal Coca-Cola, but it was all poisoned, right? That would be an example of a subprime mortgage. And so similar, like I said, to predatory lending, right? Maybe they're disguising the interest rates, maybe they're disguising the payment plans, right? How much they would want up front. These would all be disguised as something good, right? Make it seem better than it actually was. All right. Story time. Let's tell you a story about the 2008 recession. Let's first start, obviously, with where was Miss Grady during 2008? What was she up to? She was probably fighting with her sister, okay? Who's actually talking to my mother in the next room. And I know she looks innocent in this photo, but she's not. She's not. No, she's great. I love her. But in this photo, she was probably messing with me. That's why I look like that. Also, we're not going to talk about my outfit. And we're not going to, you know what? Hannah's outfit is cuter. And we're not going to talk about my outfit, though. We're going to talk about how both our dogs are out. Okay, moving on. It's just 2008. It was a different time. Okay, different president, different time, different age, right? I'm sure you all have embarrassing outfits that happens. I just don't care if my embarrassing outfits see the light of day. Let's talk about the other things that were happening in 2008 besides this scandal of an outfit, right? Is starting things off with the 2008 recession, right? This is on, if you're looking for where to fill in the blank, this whole story that I'm going to tell you, or at least just like a little blurb about the 2008 recession is on the very, very back of your paper, right? The story of the 2008 recession. And so you'll fill in the words that are highlighted and underlined in the blanks. Once again, if you need to stop and pause this video, I totally understand. And I'm sorry if my voice is really hard to hear. And also, I just got the notification that my MacBook is going to die. So time is of the essence, people. I am not doing very well, okay? But I'm gonna finish this for you guys. Let's go. Banks are selling mortgage-backed securities to investors. These mortgage-backed securities had insurance claims placed on them by insurers, like we talked about. They're protecting themselves. These insurance claims were called mortgage-backed securities, okay? The goal for these insurance claims was if the people taking out the mortgage had defaulted on their loan, the investors who owned these mortgages would get compensated on their defaults, right? We talked about how they need insurance. They're trying to save themselves. Investment banks actually stopped caring who they gave mortgages to, and they started doing predatory lending, which we talked about is bad. It's like a shark in the water, right? They're looking for easy money makers, right? Which was giving people mortgages that start off as a low interest and then trick them into, dealing with them, lending with them. But then once they start, that low interest goes to a high interest, right? They also stopped doing good credit checks on people who were applying for mortgages. This meant that a whole bunch of people started buying houses that could not afford them, right? And so they're not doing background checks on people. They're not seeing if they're worthy, meaning like financially worthy enough to make these payments, right? And I know there's some typos there, and I know some students are like, Miss Grady, there's typos there. And I'm sorry, I copied and pasted this from your study guide thing that I did not make, but I will change the typos for next time. And those students know who they are, right? Rating agencies gave several of these subprime mortgages to a AAA or a AAA rating, sorry, which is a really good rating, even though they did not deserve them, right? 75% of the mortgages were given a AAA rating, but 70% started to default on their payments. Right, so they can't pay them. This created a flood of houses on the housing market. The more of a product you have, the less it's worth, which means homeowners' prices went down. Banks stopped giving out loans. People took their money out of the stock market, and the Dow Jones dropped by a third. The insurance companies could not pay back the money that they promised through their credit default swaps. And in the end, the economy goes into a free fall. The government passed legislation bailing out the banks, with over $700 billion of taxpayers' money. And that's the story of the 2008 recession. I'm gonna pause this really quick. It won't seem like very long for you, but I gotta go grab my charger so this doesn't die. See you in 1 second. Okay, I told my parents to calm down out there. I told them to quiet down. And they said, okay, maybe. Valid, their house, right? So let's talk about your movie projects. Oop, those are my sub plans. Let's talk about your movie project. I've printed out copies of this movie project outline that I made last year. This is once again optional, but those of you that have not even started your movie project or struggle to start your movie project, I have this for you to help you along, to help plan it out. We are working on this multiple times this week when we are watching the movie Harriet, and you guys are working on that while you're watching that. And so that's that. So there'll be copies of that. I wanted to go over just your movie project again, right? Part 1 was just to watch the movie and write about what happened. Part 2 was a historical account of the movie. So your movie's based on a true story. Part 1 is just about the movie, what happened in the movie. Part 2 is you're researching the true events of the movie that it's based on, right? So you're using primary and secondary sources. Okay, and we know a primary source is like a first-hand account. Secondary source is a source that's written after the fact, right? Part 3, if you get onto part 3, is identifying the differences between the historical account and the movie itself, right? So the true story versus the movie. Part 4 is bias that may have influenced the film. So anything that would have influenced or encouraged the filmmakers to change things about the movie. Maybe they only focused on one character. Maybe it's only like one perspective or a couple perspectives. Maybe they leave stuff out, stuff like that. Part 5 is super easy. What would you change about the movie? Part 5 is just opinion. Okay. And so just a reminder that part 2 is due on Friday. But that is all I have for you. If you have any questions, let me know. There is going to be a open note quiz tomorrow over the stuff we learned on Friday and the stuff I just went over in this video. I'm going to go over really quick before I end this video the answers to your study guide, and I also will have this copy available to the sub for them to show you if you need help. But I recommend that you don't write down word for word everything that I say or everything that is on my slides, right? I'm going to give you a little bit of a summary with that too. So the 5 causes of the Great Depression, starting on the first page. First one was a farming problem, right? The farmers see the depression first. There's a relief bill that's vetoed twice by Coolidge. There's a huge boom in overproduction of farm products, and they lose a lot of money, and 1 in 4 farms are sold, right? And so because of that overproduction, the demand goes down, but the overproduction, keeps going, right? And so That's what happens there. Number two, is credit. A lot of people are going into debt because they're buying stuff on credit. They're not paying those bills, right? Consumption of products goes up, but then it flatlines. So we have an overproduction problem once again. Companies eventually stop producing because they run out of money to produce their products, and workers are let go. Third, excuse me, the third cause is a stock market crash. Many are losing money, which leads to a chain reaction, right? We remember stock is partial ownership in a company. And so a lot of the prices and the shares of, or sorry, the price of a stock is based on the health of the company. And a lot of people at that time were buying based on the price of the stock, not necessarily the health of the company, because they didn't know what the health of the company specifically was, or they weren't paying attention to it, right? Things like that. Number four is a weak banking system. And like we talked about on Friday, if we have a bunch of people going to the bank trying to pull out all of their life savings at one time, those banks are going to be overwhelmed. And so the banks are having to take out loans to keep up with that. They're having to shut down. Credit companies are having to shut down. It's just a mess. Number five is the economic distribution is unequal. Most of the country was poor when the Great Depression hit. There was not enough resources to have people pick themselves up and figure it out on their own, much to President Hoover's dismay. And there was just an uneven wealth distribution, right? You were either really, really rich or you were really, really poor. There was no in between. What was the unemployment rate for the Great Depression? We talked about today, 25%. The 2008 recession, 10%. I guess I could just make myself full screen. Let me do that real quick. Stop share. Oh, okay. Don't. Not okay. The response to the Great Depression. What was FDR's plan to get America out of the Great Depression called? It was called the New Deal. Number four, name one thing FDR's plan did. We talked about this on Friday. Emergency Banking Act, which told the banks that they needed to shut down and figure some things out. The Security Act, which told stock, like with the stock market and the company owners that had stocks, right, ready to be sold in the stock market. Those company owners had to give more information on the health of their company so that people going to the stock market and buying stocks knew what they were getting into. And the Social Security Act, which gave money to the unemployed, which people still collect Social Security checks today. Those are three things that FDR's plan did. You only really need to name one, like the question says. Economy. If you make a lot of one product, what happens to the price? The price goes down. Okay. If the price goes up on chocolate milk, does the demand or people wanting chocolate milk go up or down? Demand will eventually go down. Okay. The equilibrium of the graph below that we looked at on Friday, 8 slices of pizza for $3 each. That is the equilibrium. Okay. And then on the back, we literally just went through all of this today, so I'm not going to go through all of that, though if you missed it, you can get it from somebody next to you. I hope you weren't asleep. I think that's all I have for you. My laptop is on 7%, much like me currently. So I will see you guys all tomorrow when I'm back and I'm well. I will only be out this one day. She says, not knowing if that's true or not, but hopefully. And I will see you all when I get back. And please be good for the subs so I don't get a bad sub note, because that would make me even more physically ill. Anyway, okay. Goodbye, guys.